Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and I'm sure travel is on your mind. But depending on where you're headed, you could run into some impactful weather along the way. Houston Chronicle meteorologist Justin Ballard joins us now to discuss where in the nation we could see some slowdowns on the roads, also potentially in the skies. So welcome to the show, Justin.
Over the rainy roads and through the snowy hills, or whatever the woods.
All the things.
The
snowy woods.
The snowy woods.
Yes, and you know, a lot of people are going to be traveling various places across the nation, so a lot of people are asking these questions. But what's kind of wild is AAA is actually expecting a record number of Texans to travel this Thanksgiving. So let's break down some of those numbers first.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, especially in Texas, a record number of travelers, 5.8 million folks hitting the roads and traveling at least 50 miles away from their destination. So, you know, Houston to San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, those are popular spots. 1.1%, that's what that is, up in terms of last year's numbers, and up nearly 4% compared to 2019. So we're talking pre-pandemic numbers, and a lot of us are going to be traveling. 90% of Texans will be driving to their Thanksgiving destination. So good weather, particularly dry weather, is really key to these forecasts.
Yeah, nobody wants to get stuck on those roads when there's any sort of rain. So obviously, with that many people planning on traveling, weather is playing a key player in that. So we can't get into too many specifics this far out, but let's talk about the global models and what they're starting to show for next week.
Let's start first with the European model. So this is, I've got you at next Tuesday at noon. So both of these snapshots are at the same time period. Tuesday, why Tuesday? Because it's expected to be one of the busiest travel days before Thanksgiving. And you see the general trend is for a pretty soggy, kind of the middle of the road, sort of soggy Midwest into the Great Lakes, from basically the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast, right along the Mississippi River Valley. What's interesting is not a lot of snow on this map. You'd expect this time of year seeing a little bit of snow. I mean, you have to go all the way up into Canada to see any of that snow, at least according to the European. The GFS really and truly, you know, this far out, looks pretty similar. You know, the placement of the rain's a little different, but we're still seeing a kind of taste of what can be expected, basically from the southeast to the Midwest, the Great Lakes, into the Northeast and New England. Possibly going to be seeing some rain, maybe even some higher elevation snow, but again, for the most part, at least Tuesday, you know, this is what, 5-6 days out, you know, we're looking at generally snow-free conditions for most of the country and rain for kind of the middle and eastern part of the country.
Okay, so that's, I mean, most concern. If you're going off to the west, you really shouldn't have that many issues. But if you're going more to the east or just up to the north, could run into some of those issues there. And, you know, of course, all dependent on what happens with our area of low pressure. But seeing those actually agree, that's good for us.
Especially this far out.
Yes. These models don't like to agree.
Doesn't always happen.
So let's talk about the bottom line here. Okay, if you have plans to travel either locally or nationally, what are we expecting?
Well, let's break out some of these headlines. The Northeast, again, rain possible with some snow. In the higher elevations, as we just saw, again, we'll kind of fine-tune these details over the next couple of days, but this is just kind of a general sort of vibe for what we can expect. The Southeast, heavy rain, localized flooding, and possibly even a few strong storms, all tied into that system on Tuesday that will bring us rain and possibly some thunderstorms and hopefully some cooler weather, fingers crossed. And then the Midwest, rain possible with snow or even some wintry weather. I've seen a couple of models kind of hinting at maybe some icy weather.
Okay.
Not great. Anyway, West Coast, rain, higher elevation snow certainly possible, especially up towards the Pacific Northwest. Looks like they could be getting into a little bit of an active pattern there. Okay, so a lot of different things to think about, especially if you're going to get on those roads. Thank you so much for breaking that down for us, Justin.